Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I learned a new term today in the smut book community. It is called knotting.
Knotting?
Knotting.
As in GH or just T?
Knotting.
Oh.
What do you think it means?
Is it where you would try to tie two things together that are not in any way actually correlated?
Two things are tied together.
Is it penis?
Yep.
Penis tied in the knots? Is this like where ducks kind of like court things? And I assume other critters maybe? I'm only very familiar with duck penis.
It's more related to what dogs do. You know how like dogs...
Heat-seeking?
Not the heat-seeking, but where they knot and can lock in the female.
See, I didn't know enough about dog dick. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I guess this is a thing in smut books.
Or like, my canine cock constrains you. Nice.
But it goes both ways, too. This is another thing that I learned with it.
She has a dick that can...
Well, it's... The person that I listened to did a nice job. They were pretty much just saying innies and outies in this fantasy world. So we would relate this to like male and female. So the female can also knot, where they swell up and latch on, I guess.
You've been clam captured.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I did realize we will not be going that direction.
Is it furry? Is it like furry fantasy novels? Is that the idea?
I think that it's more of a logistics thing, similar to, in this series, the bat wings, right? The sensitivity. That was part of the fantasy, is the logistics of if you were a man with bat wings, what would the bedroom scene be like?
Logistically awful? Like,
I don't know, but
I don't know.
There's books, I guess, out there.
That's also kind of furry stuff to me, though. Like, when I think about it, like, if you're into, like, ooh, the wings, it's furry stuff, and that's fine. You maybe got, like, you're, like, 5% furry.
Okay, a percentage.
You know what I mean? Well, don't you think? I think there's a spectrum of furriness. I don't think everybody wants to fuck every fuzzy critter that's in that community. I think they have particular interests in different... Like, okay, think of you're attracted to certain things on men. Not everything about men. Like, you don't look at a dude and be like, wow, his calves make me want to climb him. Right? But some women are really into calves or forearms. Some women love forearms.
Yeah, and I guess there's a genre in smut books for knotting, which I didn't know was a thing.
Which we can call cock capture or clam captivity. Damn it, I lost it. Whatever I had earlier, it's gone. We did it. We finished the book.
Yeah.
That was the end. Some predictions, incredibly accurate, didn't get a single high five. Other predictions, not very accurate at all, didn't deserve a high five.
Genuinely devastated when they killed off Rhysand for a little bit.
Me too.
I paused the book for a moment just to feel my feelings. I fell for it. I was like, they wouldn't do that. Would they do that? And I was devastated.
I was too, and then I have follow-up feelings on this, but we'll discuss it when we get further in. I'm not going to ruin this episode in the first 2 minutes.
Chapter 74 is what we ended on in the last episode, which was Elaine slaying the king, just finishing him off.
Wrong. She didn't behead him.
She
Nesta
didn't.
came over and did that. But it was interesting that we still landed at beheading.
Yeah, so chapter 75 is where Nesta takes Truth Teller, and she's the one that does the beheading and actually finishes him and holds on to like his hair or something, just stares him in the eyes for a few minutes.
Picks up his head by the hair afterward.
Yeah.
It's like, just in those eyes, like I fucking told you.
And I knew then, I'm like, this is Nesta's trauma happening right now.
Now, for bits and pieces of this, I'm going to give a little bit of a disclaimer. You have been through this far more recently than I have.
Yes, I re-listened to it earlier this week.
Yes, so it's been about a week for me, and I'm going to be missing pieces and parts.
That's okay.
It's not unusual for me to be missing many pieces and parts.
You're just here anyways. You probably wouldn't even need to read the book. I could just give you the highlights and you would still have the same quips.
I'm enjoying these books, though.
They are fun. This was really fun. This has been a really good series. The next book is multiple perspectives.
Mostly still feyre, which is fine.
We do get Cassian, which is new, and Morgan. We did not get Nesta or Elaine in this next one.
Yeah, they died at the end of this book, to me.
Stop it.
It's just teasing.
Yeah, Nesta picked up his head and just stared at it. And the Cauldron retreated when Elaine saw her dad and was heartbroken, crying, devastated. The Cauldron had no ill will towards Elaine. It seemed to be more, I want what was taken from me, and used Elaine, but did not harm her.
Yeah, I took it as more, the Cauldron was like, let's see what happens, because the King of Hybern's busy telling it what to do, and Nesta took something from it. I think the Cauldron's probably not tickled if you're going to personify with either of them.
There's times where it's given a personality of like a dog or a cat or like just an animal of some kind. But when she went to try to make a deal to save her sister and Cassian, it just was flat, didn't respond, didn't react. So it's not, I don't know, maybe dog is a good fit. Like you can't make a deal with a dog.
You can't? Shake. I'll do it for a treat. I give dog treat. Dog gives me affection. That's the deal. I think the Cauldron has less of a personality and has more a means of existence, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah.
Like, fire goes kind of where the wind blows it, but also where the most combustible shit is. And I see the Cauldron going to look over the battlefield as kind of a similar thing, where it's sort of like fire. It's investigating all these other sources of magic along the way. And then it lands at where Nesta has a portion of its magic, and then the King of Hybern, who is a wealth of magic.
And now, dead.
Yeah, how disappointed were you? Like, I'm still so disappointed.
You were disappointed that he's dead?
I'm disappointed in how he died.
I wasn't.
We had so much lead up to how badass this guy was, and then a knife through the throat, then they behead him. Like, it was cool that they beheaded him, but it was anticlimactic as fuck.
No, I think I was still fine with what we ended on for the reasoning that he just wasn't prepared.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting it doesn't make sense.
For someone to get that close to him, let alone a knife wound.
I'm not suggesting it doesn't make sense. I'm just suggesting that who's writing this book, their primary objective is not a satisfying end to a big character.
I think it felt, I guess I was happy with it.
That's also just happy with Amarantha's, though.
Yeah,
like,
I was.
Amarantha's made more sense because, now the High Lords have their power back, where Tamlin had his power back, and now he's overwhelming. But you didn't really get that with King Hybern. Was this omniscient, incredible strategist who ended up getting stabbed in the neck.
Does the King of Hybern's power transfer to somebody? That wasn't mentioned.
It wasn't. And who would it go to? Did he have an heir? We don't know. He had a niece and nephew. And a general who was evidently more powerful than Helion.
Or a match. Yeah.
He said Helion was on his last legs, and the general was not breaking a sweat.
There was also a throw to the king's skill from Jurian. Do you remember this part where the Sixth Queen is asking Feyre about breaking her curse? And Jurian is like, well, if the king was here, he probably could have done it.
Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, Jurian was kind of making a side comment of, well, you killed probably the only person who could break her curse.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really pick up on that. It makes sense, though, because, again, I think maybe he's as dissatisfied as I am. This guy's built up to be this crazy badass dude. And I do think that he needed an end, but it felt so rushed at the very end. It felt like we were taking things real slow, and then the King of Hybern's dead. And that's it.
You were right about one part where you said, if the king is killed in this moment, it doesn't stop everybody from fighting because it was actually in their hearts that everyone who was working with the king wanted to be in this battle.
Yeah.
And Feyre does call that out. She's like, they're not going to stop because they want this battle.
Yeah, I think it was awesome that she addressed that. The other thing I like that she addressed is that we haven't seen the other armies. The allies of Hybern. We never saw them.
Did mention it briefly that while we're done with this, the fight isn't really over because of the queens and the others. It wasn't that we were given an answer. It was just more, this isn't the end of the story.
Yeah, like I said, I just liked that they addressed that, Hybern almost overwhelmed them. Did, really. For all intents and purposes, Hybern was winning that battle. If they didn't have this ultimate Amren trump card, they would have got their asses handed to them. And they still hadn't fought the big bads. The other big bads, I guess. So I'm curious to see what they do with those. Or if those turn out to be as anticlimactic as Hybern's.
How would you have ended it?
The King of Hybern?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. There's the other... I think I would have had it be either something where Nesta's providing him an actual fight. I would have had something that allowed him to be challenged in one form or another, and then somebody be triumphant through challenge.
He was challenged by Nesta. She launched him.
And then he came back laughing, a little scraped up, and said, okay, that was cute. Good job. He was never on the ropes. There was never a moment where you thought, okay, she and him are exchanging blows. He took one from her, and other than that, he was just beating the shit out of everybody.
I guess, yeah, when I think of a boss fight in a video game, if you were fighting the big boss and his health bar isn't going down, and all of a sudden you get your first small fraction of a hit, and then, like, if you're in, like, a duel...
He's dead immediately.
And then he's dead in one blow.
Yeah, it's not...
Yeah, I can see it that way. Like, if you're in a video game, you do not want that. Like, that would be very unsatisfying of a fight, that you get a small bar and then his entire health bar.
I think it's that way with all forms of conflict, though, right? Like, imagine you are having a political discussion with somebody whom you disagree with 150%. It's Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump having a discussion. 90% of the way through this, nothing is getting through to Donald Trump, right? Or Bernie Sanders, whichever one you pick. Nothing's getting through to the other guy.
And then all of a sudden...
And then one random person from the crowd, or maybe a moderator in this debate, says one thing and the other person just flips a light switch, and all of a sudden they're like, actually, you're right the whole time. And that was it. They never had any more discussion. They just end the debate right then. It would be not satisfying at all. There was no exchange. There was no earned. It doesn't feel earned, I guess. Like, I like that it happened. I think Hybern needed to die. I even liked that Elaine did. But Elaine didn't somehow... It doesn't feel like Elaine deserved it, I guess. It's kind of it. Like, she just happened to be a person there with a sharp knife. And it's like, wow, the King of Hybern was so easy to assassinate. Why the fuck couldn't our Shadow Singer, who literally hides in shadow, just hide behind one of those trees and then throw the knife through Hybern's neck at some point?
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like, wow. So we just needed Elaine to be useful for a moment, and we needed this story to end in a few chapters. So what do? We stabbed him in the neck. He's done. Which is okay.
I was happy with it. I still feel satisfied with it, and I think that it sets up Nesta for her future character of the trauma that she's going through, and yet I think it was character building for Nesta and Elaine of what's going on. Elaine, shockingly, after all of this, she's just like, life is good. And I liked it that she was feeling great. She's like, she was coming to terms with her new life faster than Nesta at this point.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we get different things from the book is all. And it was just one area where I felt jilted because of what I was enjoying about the book. And it doesn't satisfy if what you were enjoying is this kind of a culture war, so to speak. Like, the parallels of these people disagree strongly with these people, and then we're going to really battle it out, and it's going to show that there's equality to both sides of it, if that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Even in power. And then to see that there really isn't was that part, like I said, that's fair. I just wasn't on for the same things you were.
Yeah, if this was a video game and feyre was the main character and you were watching the gameplay, this would be torn to shreds as a boss fight.
Yeah, if this was something happening in real life, you would feel this way. Imagine right now the Ukrainian president just has, like, imagine the Ukrainian president's significant other. It just sneaks up behind Vladimir Putin while the two are talking, and then they stab Vladimir Putin in the neck, and then the war's over and Ukraine wins. Like, that's kind of what it feels like. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? There is no resolution. The King of Hybern didn't grow. He was built up to be this incredible thing that then just stopped existing in such a simple way. But that's okay.
But then we have
just in different things.
The part 2 of the war, which is Amren.
Yeah, which that's the one that I wanted a high five for.
Yeah, you did call that. And it was nice that you called it because it mentally prepared me for what was happening.
I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked when it happened. I was like, I thought I was really throwing it to left field, trying to extend an olive branch, so to speak. I'm like, this is what's got to happen with Amren. Because if she had just betrayed feyre, that's it. I'd be so pissed.
I knew she wouldn't. I knew logically, and it kind of hurt that feyre just was like, you betrayed me, like, so immediately. I'm just like,
King of Hybern is dead right now, right?
Yeah, I do believe he's dead.
Why do we believe he's dead?
Because he was beheaded.
Yeah, everybody else has died, and they just come back. And King of Hybern could come back, but we're assuming he's dead because we trust that.
That's where I wonder if his power transfers.
Sure. I was just throwing it back to the idea of we're like, oh, we knew that they wouldn't do this to us. I'm like, they did that to King of Hybern, to my group of people that enjoyed that part of the book.
But the King of Hybern doesn't have friends to bring him back to life.
He probably has his own group of friends. We just didn't get a chapter about him.
We kind of bunny trailed there. The Cauldron retreats with feyre, and she sees Miriam and Jurian fighting while feyre's being drugged back. This is kind of called on later, where feyre is like, did you guys kill him? And they're like, no. And are you friends with him? And she's like, well, not really, but he's truthful, at the very least. There wasn't a lot of information given. It just seemed like just enough to know that there's animosity between them. I don't know.
Yeah, it came off very much to me like, we still hate him, but he was helpful.
And Moore is the one that stopped them from killing him.
Yeah.
And kind of annoying that they're just like, this is the time to have this fight with him.
I completely agree. Everybody's priorities are so weird.
But feyre even calls that out. She's like, really? Now? This is when we're doing this?
Yeah, when feyre's calling that moment out, you know you really fucked up.
So Amren wakes her up and shares that this is all for the unbinding spell. And Varian is there begging her not to do it. And my emotions were manipulated. I was falling for all of it, just sad, just devastated is the best word for it, that I'm just laying in bed listening to this with you. And I probably could have cried because I was just so into the book at this point. I would give this book a 10 out of 10 for how it made me feel emotionally by the end of it. What I really enjoyed with the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame is how engrossed I was into the book. This was great. I was happy.
Yes, I'm happy for you. I like the book a lot.
Yeah. But Varian was sad. It was sad to me.
Yeah, I was really sad for it, but also they hadn't built a lot up with Varian and her up until very recently, right? We had like little crumbs, which I think I might have enjoyed better.
That's what I think it was the crumbs that were given. You could fill in a lot of what you wanted out of their relationship and feelings with each other.
Yeah, I agree. I was also, when he's like, don't do it, I'm like, yeah, don't fucking do it, feyre. It's not worth it. Let everybody else die.
And then Amren gives her goodbyes to everyone and gives her Rhysand speech, essentially, to them of how great everything is.
Hers was so much better than Rhysand's.
Yeah.
Rhysand's speech was so odd. Like, it was clearly heartfelt. His felt very authentic in the sense of it wasn't polished, right? Where he's just like, and your sisters. Good thing you're here, I assume. Like, hers wasn't like that at all. Hers was like, what a gift.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, she was like, this is a gift. A gift that she even wondered if her father gave to her. Like, opening up. It was kind of. Yeah, it was confusing.
She's the angel of death.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, we did talk about this angel of death, and I just didn't click that. It didn't click for me that God was her dad and gave her this gift.
Yeah, she was an angel before. She could do nothing but witness love and all these things. And then she was able to experience them here, blah, blah, blah. She had gained immortal more or less, existence, which I think is really cool. I really enjoyed it.
And that explains a little bit more of when she is released. She is light and fire, victory and pain, and wings. And she looked at them before she went on the slaughter.
It's a second Firebird.
Yeah,
We got
but
Firebirds all over
like
the
a
place. But
ghostly one.
Oh, I thought she was just pure light. Like her light was brighter than Helian's, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know.
I could have swore that was utter.
I probably imposed more of a vision on it because of like her eyes, like the smoky gray flame. I don't remember what her eyes look like
Silver.
now. Yeah, the silvery. That's how I was picturing her, as that was her, but with wings flying through and just
T-posing.
yeah.
I just even flow all the way through the sky.
Yeah, and she just had to glide over and everyone just
Oh,
did.
Smoke on the Water. You know that song, right?
No, I don't.
Smoke on the water. Yeah, you know that song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's her.
There's fire in the skies. No, it does not matter. There's lyrics in that you could use here. It's fun.
Add it to your playlist.
It's not worth having to hear Smoke on the Water's intro guitar riff.
Chapter 76, the cauldron is broken from unleashing her. Split into 3, leaching into the land.
Oh, there's a hole. It's a oil.
Yeah.
It's not really underground.
Oh.
It's an absence of matter, I think, is how I was thinking of it.
Oh, I kind of like that. I was picturing Vanta Black paint. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Where you can't, there's nothing reflective. It is just pure black darkness. You look into it and there's just
Pure
nothing.
light absorption,
Yeah,
Like a black
that's what I was
so
picturing.
to speak.
Yeah, black hole. That's probably what it was.
I'm with you on that.
So the cauldron is destroying the land. Feyre couldn't read the book, so she threw it in there.
It's such a Feyre solution. What is this? I'm like, I can't even read it. Throws it into the black hole.
Yeah, and then Rhysand is just so sweet. He's just like, oh, I guess. That's fine. He's like so loving and accepting of her decision to chuck it in there.
I think he would have made a really good caretaker for somebody.
For Feyre.
Well, yeah, Feyre needs one too. But I think he would have made just a good caretaker, kind of in general.
Yeah, just no judgment. He's just like, what's done is done immediately.
But it's weird how much judgment he has for other things. Just Feyre is not a part of that. But yeah, he was very sweet. Feyre does unleash her friend. Her friend swoops through, and as she's killing everybody, she's sort of fading out, which I found interesting. Like she only had so much energy to dissipate.
Oh, yeah, Amren.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like her being could not be on this earth, but it was also confusing because she was on this planet, whatever it may be, long enough that she was imprisoned. So I don't understand why she was fading out and dying in this, other than she does have her memories and knew to kill.
You don't know. She did maintain her memories of who she wanted to kill. And then also they warned everybody, like, don't run away from her. If you move too fast, it's like a rabbit and a dog.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, my dog, he's not aggressive toward cats. But if that cat starts running, normally the dog is going to go after it. That was Amren.
But only a couple people got the warning. Feyre and Varian got that warning not to run. If
No, I
you
think
were...
Rhysand and more, I think other people were spreading that as well. I believe Feyre threw it out to Rhys, and then Rhys spread that out to his soldiers, whatever.
Oh, good. Good. Because I was
think
just
that
like,
was explained.
2 people know this.
Yeah, they knew not to run.
Oh, this is also when she was trying to figure out how to fix the cauldron, and she was thinking about how she only knows one thing, one spell. And I paused and I said, she should say it in reverse. And she's like, I'm going to say it, but change one thing.
Same logic. I don't know if I was really impressed or really bothered that you and Feyre were so in lockstep there. Like, oh no.
Who did I marry?
We've listened to too much of this. It's infecting my wife.
So this is when, yeah, I even have the note. I was emotional. So he is behind her, holding her. She's saying the spell. She's putting out her power, his power, and I knew it was coming.
Well, they're trying to repair it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just like, I love you. And she's like, I love you too. Shut the fuck up. I'm doing magic. And then he's like, okay. And then I imagine in my mind, like, he's just withering into nothingness.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you. And then in the end, she's like, I didn't know he wasn't just reassuring me in the middle of magic. he was also saying goodbye. I'm like, feyre, you are a fucking dummy. Like, and the whole time this is happening, I'm like, okay, so Rhysand's the last of his life force is leaving him, right?
Yeah.
This was not a hard thing to imagine. You guys are trying to fix the magic pot that holds all the magic for your world.
Someone had to do it. And I even called this. I'm like, who's it going to be? I don't even think Rhysand crossed my mind as someone it was going to be.
I think immediately when he started just giving her magic, though, it made sense.
I was in Delulu Land, and I thought, well, there's 2 of them, so it's half of their life force each, not one person's.
There, I didn't take this as it would require a life force. I took this as it's going to require an ass pile of magic to put this thing back together.
I was hoping it was going to be like in Breath of the Wild where you get the sword for the first time.
It takes 14 hearts.
Yeah, if you have enough hearts, it's okay.
It takes 12 hearts.
Yeah, but if you go up there with 6 hearts, it takes your entire life. Or if you land on the exact amount of hearts needed, you still die. But I don't know if
it leaves
get
you at a quarter of a heart.
Yeah.
And you don't die. It leaves you at a quarter, and then you go and you're like, I don't have enough hearts yet. And then the tree's like, you're too much of a weakling. Get the fuck out of here.
So I'm picturing Link is there with the sword, and he has, I don't know who behind him, another person with extra hearts are wrapping his arms around him to be a part of the hearts to lift it.
It's Ganondorf. He's just holding in the Link's waist.
As he slowly fades away.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
But that's not what happened.
No.
Rhysand did die.
I was really bummed out by that, but this is when I still assumed death was permanent. Why did I assume that? Nobody's fucking died permanently other than, so far, her dad and Claire Batters.
I think you were hoping he died, and you're like, this is it. What a great end to the book. He's dead, and feyre goes off into the sunset, just being her.
No, an ideal end of his series will be one of Feyre's ridiculous decisions finally cost her everything. Like, that would be the penultimate chapter to this entire story. In the end, her friends die, her husband dies, everybody dies because Feyre got a little carried away and was too stupid. And everybody dies off because of her decision, and she kind of lives with it for a little bit and then ends it herself, and then starts the next book series after that. Like, I think that would be like, wow, we really learned something from this. It's don't just continually be an idiot. And Rhysand could have learned don't support people being an idiot all the time.
I don't think you're going to get this.
I don't think so.
Feyre's going to survive at all.
And I'm glad she will. I was legitimately bummed out when Rhysand died.
So chapter 76, if that was chapter 80, I would have truly, or 81, I would have thought this was the end of the book. And I immediately went to check to see what chapter we're on, because if it was 81, I probably would have cried.
I thought you were crying anyway.
No.
Okay. It got real quiet.
Just emotional.
The book was paused a few times and your arm went over your head, like so.
Yeah, I had to take it in. Just take in the emotions that were happening. I was being emotionally manipulated by this author.
Yeah, there was no judgment in that. It was, I could have swore you had strong feelings. I get it. I was so bummed. Mostly because Amren was dead and then Rhysand that I'm like, damn it. I'm down to 2 decent characters in this.
When they were bringing back Rhysand, I'm like, okay, good. But still feeling like we are only bringing back one person. They eased us back from 2 people dying to, well, you get 1 back.
When they fixed the Cauldron, I knew nobody was permanently dead.
Well, I thought Amren was still dead.
The way I saw it was the Cauldron's power could rebuild Amren.
Okay, yeah, but feyre through the book.
Well, I didn't know if they would need the book. I honestly figured at some point, it doesn't matter. The Cauldron, they will find a way to use the Cauldron to bring Amren back.
Yeah, I just thought they got rid of the book. Amren probably took notes back at the townhouse.
Rhysand. I thought they could have revived Rhysand with the Cauldron, too.
Yeah, just throw it in his body.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it seems as though nobody's noticed nobody knows how to use the Cauldron that's left.
No, but they brought back Jurian with a finger and an eyeball.
But that was somebody who knew what they were doing.
But he still had his life force, the soul.
Well, he has soul stuck in there. But the way they brought back Feyre was Rhysand held onto her soul.
And that's exactly how he was brought back to life this time. Was exactly the same as Feyre.
That's what I'm saying, though, is if the only person who's been brought back to life so far that you're aware of is Jurian and Feyre, the commonality is the soul is bound to something or someone, and then they can't be brought back. So I was like, okay. When Rhysand died, I'm like, it's no biggie. They've managed to fix the Cauldron. She'll bring both of them back with the Cauldron. Then they had the way that he was brought back being just like feyre is very poetic.
Yeah.
Tamlin got a bit of a redemption.
Oh, yeah. So just to get us to where we are right now, chapter 77, she turns around, she feels no bond, just a shell, just herself is kind of what I got from it. She clung to him like he did her. And I like that it wasn't a certain thing. She wasn't even sure if she had him. She just did an action of pulling out whatever she could. And it did work. And it showed us that's probably what Rhysand did also when she was killed. And kept repeating, stay with the High Lord, stay with the High Lord. They didn't think it was the same to give him the kernel of power.
What?
The High Lords were like, it's different. You are human. He's a fae. Yeah, so it's different to do that for him. Looking back, I wonder if they just didn't want to give, if he did come back to life, he would be like feyre and have a part of their power.
Well, I think that, and she was reborn as a fae. She didn't maintain anything other than her personality. Like, her body even was changed, right?
Yeah, her heart. Yeah. Her soul.
Yeah, it's a ship of Theseus argument, right?
Oh, yeah, you've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where they rebuild the ship.
Yeah, if you slowly replace each and every part, even though the ship is still called the ship of Theseus, right, in this example. I don't know if that was actually the ship's name. Doesn't matter. Then is it still the same ship, right?
Yeah, but in this moment, they didn't. They seemed to resist wanting to even try.
Yeah, but I think they seem sort of opposed to trying much of anything. Hence why Hybern ended up getting the upper hand on them. They were opposed to meeting at certain places.
Yeah.
They were opposed to, once they did meet, trusting each other. They're opposed to when they're doing battle, like until the battle actually begins, they're not exactly good at.
They're not a united front. It's almost like a difference between countries rather than states, where, it's very
culturally different.
Yeah.
Yet there's kind of this overarching culture, I guess, similar to humanity in that sense. Yeah, I would agree.
So feyre threatens all of them, and was willing to take it from all of them if she could. She threatens the Baron. She threatens Baron. I keep saying the Baron, but it's just Baron. She threatens Baron, and Tamlin actually did it on his own accord for Rhys, and I was really surprised by that. I thought he was going to need to be threatened also.
He did it for feyre.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, speaks to he's not ill-intentioned most of the time. He's just immature. He's not a good character in the sense of, is he a good guy? I don't think so. But I think you could easily tell this story from a perspective where Rhysand isn't a bad guy, where he is the one that's jilted and all of these other things. You could see all of that being true from a different perspective of this book.
I also got from this scene that this was the moment that Tamlin's love died for feyre. In this moment when he says, be happy, feyre.
Oh, I got something very different.
Oh, I took it as it's finally, he hit his point where he's done loving her and he wishes her happiness.
No, see, I'm not saying no as in you're wrong. I'm saying the way that I took it was he's learned what love is, as opposed to just how he feels for her with affection. He values how she feels. I would say out of love for feyre, he did do this. And what he wants for feyre because he loves her is her happiness. And he knows that that's with Rhysand and not himself. So I would say he's more accepted that he isn't that for her. But still loves her, I think.
Later, she sends him a letter. What do you think of that? Where she also tells him to be happy and to, I don't know, it was odd. I found it was very fitting for her age because it sounds like something that I essentially did with my ex. It was 3 years in. I sent him a message. I showed it to you and it was pretty much I'm I'm sorry how these things worked out, and I hope that you find happiness.
Yeah.
It is just a very
I think
21, 20-year-old girl type of mentality thing.
Yeah, I think when I read it in the book, I took it more as it's a typical feyre thing, which I think you're right. I think it's a young woman, in her 20s doing these things, but it is a move of selfishness.
Yeah, I did take her sending that letter as very selfish and not understanding of where Tamlin is coming from.
Yeah, it was just to make her feel better. It didn't serve any purpose.
Yeah, it's almost like when you hurt someone and you reach out to say sorry to make you feel better, not because you actually think about what that other person needs, and what that other person probably needs from you is not you reaching out.
Yeah, and I think if she would have written a letter that said, hey, this is how this went down. I wish I could have taken these actions differently. And that's it. If that's all it was addressed her actions.
And I don't know what you wrote.
Fine, but I think the idea of, here, take this letter. I now also give you permission to be happy is kind of what it came off as. And it was like, not like, hey, I'm really sorry I went through and fucking destroyed your entire court because I assumed you were up to no good. I don't know.
I think it was like that part where she is like, I'm sorry for all that I did and that I didn't give you the benefit of the doubt that you were doing good.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then great.
Yeah, I think it was more like that. I don't think it was as...
If it was apologizing for how your relationship didn't work, then it's selfish.
Yeah.
I think if it's just apologizing for the things where you were an asshole, yeah, I think it's fine.
I think it was pretty vague of whatever she wrote, but I think that it did end with her telling him to also be happy.
Okay. Well, then maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I'm on board with it.
Hopefully. I don't know. I know in the moment that I felt kind of meh about that.
There was a lot going on, though.
I liked how Rhysand, when he woke up, he tells everyone, if I'm here, either things went very, very wrong or very, very right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that he immediately addresses, because my first question was, is he going to have everybody's powers? And he immediately goes, hey, guys, all the power of it's here is mine. You're all safe.
Yeah.
I was like, well, good. You prevented this from being a fucking 7-chapter arc 2 books from now.
But that's kind of why I thought that they didn't want to do it, not because they didn't want to save his life, but because they didn't want him to have their power. Because all throughout this series, we're told that
they're possessive of their power.
Very possessive. And they were hiding Feyre's power because they didn't want them to kill her, because they would do it. They would kill her to get their power back. Therefore, what is the point of bringing Rhysand back if we give you a part of our power and we want to kill you for it back anyways?
I would think that this would have in some ways changed things, because Rhysand reminded them all at Theson's place that, hey, if I wanted you fuckers dead, you would be dead.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like the gap between High Lords was close. It wasn't, 2 Olympians that were similar, that it was like, oh, but Rhysand's just a little better. It was, the difference in Rhysand is the difference between a high fae to a human.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning the difference between me and Usain Bolt out there.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't close. So I also think the idea of like, oh man, if he has our powers, he'll be too powerful. We can't fight him. It's like, you couldn't fight him anyway. You guys were never on the same page. I don't know. I think you're probably right. I think there was an element to that, but I also think there's just a cultural element to they're losing something when they give that kernel of power.
Yeah, and this would be their second one to lose.
And it is a gift if you think about it.
Yeah, but I do think Rhysand would do it for them. Like, he put on this facade that he wouldn't, and that when he did it for Feyre, it was such a gift. Almost like how Tamlin acted in this scene of, I'm not doing it for you. Well, Rhysand said...
from what she gave.
Yeah, for what she gave. And consider us even.
That is also how this one was with, I think, who's Lord of the Sea again? Aquaman?
Why can't I remember his
Start
name?
with the Sea?
Tarquin.
Did not start with the Sea. You're right. Yeah, I think Tarquin was the one who started with for what he gave, basically, for this.
Yeah.
And I think that followed through. I liked her moment with Baron, and this was actually my favorite part.
And I think it was, more who did it too.
It could be. I thought it was Feyre who's like, you're going to give it, or we're going to make a new High Lord right fucking now.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wouldn't, and I think that was a great spot where it wasn't a 5-minute debate. The body's getting cold. And before it reaches 55 degrees, we will have your kernel of power. Whether it comes from you or it comes from Eris, I'm putting it in this motherfucker.
Yeah. But yeah, I was emotional. And the happiness that I felt of Amren coming back, she's just like sitting, I guess, in the cauldron.
Yeah.
And he says, "Fish out, dear Amren." And I don't think she doesn't have powers anymore.
At bare minimum, doesn't have her power anymore.
Yeah, but she'll be useful somewhere else just for the fact she's high fae.
Well, I mean, she can read a book.
Well,
they threw in there.
They got rid of it.
Read all the rest of them.
So she does have her memories back.
Yeah. So when it's the idea that like her eyes are no longer glowing silver, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting to me that she wouldn't have gained some power from the Cauldron similar to either Elaine or Nesta.
Maybe she does, yeah.
She is technically reforged twice.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens when you forge steel?
2 times?
Well, when you forge steel,
what?
It gets hard.
Oh.
Now she's twice as hard. She's gay-born hard.
Oh my God. I never really saw her as forged the first time. I didn't see her as similar as Feyre, Jurian, and the sisters.
That's a fair point.
Because she said she did it to herself.
That's completely fair. All right, fine. So she was only forged once. She's just regular born hard.
Oh my God. Chapter 48. So everyone, Rhysand's alive, Amren's alive. Chapter 78, they go back to where their father is, and
nobody tries to bring him back with the Cauldron. They're like, we're just going to toast him away.
He's been dead for a while, so his soul is definitely not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. True.
They bury their father, and Nesta doesn't speak this entire time.
Wait, they don't bury him.
They did. I think they did bury him. They even did a prayer for him, which wasn't something that the humans do.
Yeah, they did a prayer, and then she burned him.
Oh, right.
Floated on the...
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they took care of the body.
Yeah, they took care of the body. I think Lucian did perfectly.
So yeah, Lucian shows up. Elaine isn't feeling anything towards him. There was even a moment where Feyre even says that Elaine leans into her when he shows up as a way of saying like, there's nothing between us, but I will be kind to you.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of Mor's rejection of Azriel.
Yeah.
Where it's pleasant, but a passive rejection.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Which I think is kind of shitty, if I'm being honest.
She can't control his feelings.
No, I know. I'm not saying she's control his feelings. I'm saying also you can just be very direct with, no, it's that easy. I think this kind of perpetuates the whole thing where I told you about those girls at Menards. The thing I thought was so amazing was they didn't waste time with pleasant rejection of this dude's bullshit. It was straight up, hey, fuck off. And that was it. And I was like, my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm going to send a letter to your parents. Good job, parents. You did it.
But I think a difference between that and Elaine is Elaine, I don't think, wants to write him off.
She wants, just in case she becomes interested, to keep him around?
I don't think it's like that. I think it's more, she doesn't not want it, but she also doesn't want it. She just feels, I don't think she knows what she feels, and she doesn't need to know what she feels towards him. I don't think she has anything negative. He's not harassing her like those guys were at Menards.
No, I guess I wasn't equating the entire situation.
Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't need to stand for anything because there is no stance to be had at this point.
Well, let me check in with things. Maybe I'm not understanding. So in my head, he keeps really close to her, similar to Azriel and Mor, because he's like, that's it, we're mates. I'm going to be here when you do decide you're ready for me. Right.
I think it's still pretty early. Azriel's has been hundreds of years. Lucian's is pretty recent, and I kind of relate it to a crush. I think it's normal if you have a crush on someone to try to be near them.
Yeah, but contextually, like within the book, you believe it's just a crush?
Well, obviously it's not. I would be very interested in a book that's just about Elaine choosing between 2 men.
I don't think she gets a choice. I don't think Azriel's there for her. I think Azriel and her would be a great mated pair, but I think that's what makes this book good, is that she, I think, has more of that feeling toward Asriel than Asriel has for her. I think Asriel sees her, she's the wounded deer.
Yeah.
I call her. Like, he's just compassionate. He's not lustful. And she is enjoying that compassion, but I think developing that lust.
Oh.
No, okay, no, hold on. It's not sadder when it's between her and Asriel than it is with her and Lucian.
I just meant that I didn't realize. I think I was giving Asriel more feelings towards Elaine than he probably has.
And I think, and he may, don't get me wrong, I can see where, as far as if I was just reading this for the romance part, I would want it to be Asriel, because Asriel's been nothing but a sweetie McCutie the whole time. Lucian's been a bit of a shitbird on and off, but I don't think Elaine deserves Asriel either, honestly. Like, she's nice, but she isn't doing anything. She's killing the King of Hybern with his lucky knife.
She's just quiet, just like him. You one time said they're two kindred spirits, I think.
They kind of are, yeah. But you can't have two people in a relationship that way.
You can.
Have you ever seen that?
I don't know. I think I'm putting them in a relationship together with Asriel just having a huge crush on her.
Asriel having a huge
I meant Lucian having a huge crush on her.
Yeah, so I think I'm just looking at it more from the way the book was telling us how it worked, where there's a mating bond that she's just refusing to acknowledge, and then she's flirting with Asriel. I don't know. I guess I just don't. I think I take it differently than you do is all. That's okay.
In this moment, feyre helps Lucian out by just walking away with him and nudges Elaine as Elaine invites him to Valaris back with them. And he brings up the Sixth Queen. The Sixth Queen has it out for the others, and that she is going to be the one that probably takes care of them, because he's talking about, well, we did have this battle happen, but there's still more problems to come. And that's when he brings up the Sixth Queen's probably going to take care of them. And Lucian compliments Elaine for the final blow to the king, and Elaine invites him to Valaris. And that's the end of chapter 78.
Elaine denies it in that moment.
Yeah, she said Nesta did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's an important thing, too. Lucian's like, hey, we heard you made the killing blow. And Elaine's like, nope, that was Nesta. He's like, oh, okay. Interesting. Rumors. Misleading, I guess. Then she's like, you want to go to Valaris? And he's like, yep, let's go.
I think it was really fitting that Nesta finished what Elaine started, because it was almost like Nesta knew Elaine couldn't handle that, and she took on that burden. And now we have Nesta, who is broken, but it was very fitting that she would do something like that for her sister to protect her.
And to be fair, Nesta is the one that killed him.
Yeah.
How did you visualize this happening? Where she's walking around merry-go-round style with a knife, right?
I pictured holding onto his hair and then circling it around.
So he's grasping at this thing, though. Like, he's moving around this whole time.
Yeah.
Logistically, this is odd to me. Just in my brain trying to visualize somebody walking around your head while holding the hilt of this knife, gliding it through. And you're grasping at the knife and them and trying to stop them from moving.
I thought he was dead long before this point. No, there was still movement.
But yeah, a conscious movement. Like, he's just bleeding out. He's not completely done yet.
I almost wonder if when she was holding the head too, she was just waiting for the soul to officially be gone.
Watching the eyes. Yeah. Waiting for the life to leave.
Disgusting. Gross. It was intense. I knew this was a huge
boner
moment. A huge moment in Nesta's life.
Yeah. And she just watched her father be murdered.
Yeah.
Feet from her.
A lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm. All at once.
And it kind of,
She's so good at processing things.
Yeah, she's so good at it. Chapter 79, they go back to what do you call, like the tent camp?
Sure, yeah, the camp.
The camp, yeah. So they go back there. Feyre meets Miriam. Draken makes fun of Rhysand for being an old man. It kind of just brought up again the age difference for me in that moment. And I was like, ew, gross.
It's the one area of disgust I constantly get with this book is you have this poor girl in her 20s who isn't particularly sharp or mature for her age even. Even if you were going to make that argument, you're right, where they're like, oh, you're mature at least. For your mid-20s, you're mature like a 40-year-old, right? And you hear people say this shit, and it's always a way to make it okay that they're being a creep.
Yeah.
But a 555-year-old man,
So
22-year-old girl, you're like, oh no, yeah, I forget he's a creep.
Yeah, and this was a moment that just reminded me again of their age gap and just kind of the ick from it. I'm just like, ew.
These books have this tendency to always have old dudes with young women. It is so odd. You would think it would be old men writing these books, actually, wouldn't you?
No clue. There was a woman that did a breakdown that it had something to do with childbearing and the security of like older men. Because we've seen this in psychology before with women and childbearing and the security of a partner that won't leave instability. I think it has something to do with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense-ish. Other than also, these aren't secure partners.
I just don't volunteer to be a part of the trials, the case studies on this.
Well, I think that's another thing too. I would assume a lot of the people who would sign up for that are like, oh, I'm a part of this example. Let's see what's going on here. And then it's like, oh, well, we had a bunch of people show up that wanted answers because they're 40 years different than their partner. It's like, well, now most of our data is about people who are 40 years age gapped. I don't know. I'll ask my mother someday.
So I brought this up earlier with Jurian is still alive. Feyre asked Miriam and Draken, did you kill him? They asked if she is friends, and she says, well, he's honest. They have a discussion of hiding the cauldron on the island. Feyre is trying to get ahead of this being a problem by just getting rid of it immediately. Before you guys leave, take the cauldron, go, hide it there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So in the moment I did, I was like, oh, they're trying to give the cauldron to a third party, right? In a place where it would be safe, blah, 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 blah. I don't know that it remains a safe place. Does that make sense? Wherever they're coming from, somebody had to know. You don't move thousands of people and nobody figures out where they're coming to or from, right? In general.
I was surprised how quickly they said yes, but I think this is just a quicker moving chapter. Let's knock out some of these things and answers and
Not everything is a 20-minute discussion.
Yeah, because it's also really dangerous to have the cauldron stored there because they value so heavily on the secrecy, the privacy, being hidden from the world. And by having the cauldron there, it increases the chances of people coming and finding you.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had made an 8th area, or a 9th area, I guess it would be, right? Where it belongs to the world. The cauldron is here. Every group can send emissaries to live in this almost like the Vatican. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of its independent thing. And not one country is responsible for it, or not one court, not one group, not just the humans, blah, 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 blah. Anybody can come chill with a cauldron as opposed to hiding this.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just, let's hide it because I don't want to deal with this, especially in the meeting. She sets up the meeting to redo the treaty, and she doesn't bring any of it up. It's definitely
that's
secret.
What I'm saying. That's a problem because every one of those courts knows this cauldron exists, and none of them are a part of making the decision on what to do with it.
Yeah, she just decides.
Equally.
Yeah, she decides for them.
No right. I think, again, I think it was kind of a shitbird move. Like, it makes sense. I was trying to think of another way you could do it, and I'm like, outside of it being a community's location that is kind of extraditious to everywhere else, I don't know where you would go with it.
Well, this is a problem we've had with Feyre before. She didn't even consult with Rhysand on what to do with it. She just asked, can we do this?
I know. Yeah. At least Rhysand will know where it is. Imagine everybody else, the end of all this. How confused are you? Like, where's the cauldron? And she'll be like, I thought you had it. I don't know. It seems like you're just building up for some more bullshit later.
Yeah, it kind of gave off, I want all of us to come together. We'll work through this treaty. She's really positive, encouraging. Like, I want all of us to make decisions together and let's all work it out. And with the humans for this world where we all live together in peace, humans and fae, but yet makes decisions without anybody.
And we're not including those other nations that we're also going to have to defeat in battle and then do another treaty that includes them by the end.
Right before we get to the treaty decisions and whatnot, she sets up the meeting. Everyone shows up. Tamlin is hurt seeing Lucian with the Night Court and in Night Court clothes. It made me sad for him again. Like, I feel sad. I don't know if I should feel sad, but I do feel sad for Tamlin. And then I feel bad that I feel this way.
No,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's a bit of both. So I had a bit of a moment with this too, where I was like, oh, man,
He lost
bastard.
everything.
Everything.
He lost more than the King of Hybern lost, because the King of Hybern is just dead before he lost everything. Tamlin has to live every day with everything taken from him.
Well, yeah, I think that's a major issue. But also I'm like, oh, but if Tamlin would get out of his own crybaby way,
Yep.
it wouldn't be an issue. The problem is Tamlin keeps seeing all of these problems come up. He gets overwhelmed by this and he's just sad and storms off. Every fucking time something comes up for little Tam, he's like, oh, well, Nesta. And then he goes, storms off and he goes to his little corner. And then you're like, oh, fuck. Well, it makes sense that he would be sad. But you're not expressing anything along the way. You're not looking for a productive conversation.
Well, I don't think,
Everything for a fight.
as far as we know, he hasn't changed behavior to win back the hearts of his people either,
He
because
managed to rally them.
he did, but I hope it's due to change behavior. And rather than being upset with Feyre, that Feyre is just shining a light on Tamlin's behavior that was always there. And they left on their own. She just showed it to them.
She did a little more than that, to be fair. She poured a lot of gas in the fire. It was like she knew that he was close to the edge and she kept pushing him there. I'm not suggesting what she did was wrong, but let's not pretend like Feyre just opened these people's eyes. She knew how much Tamlin valued Ianthe's opinions. She knew that she put Ianthe in a position to want to be more valued, therefore instigating the harsher treatment of his guards and all these things because Ianthe wanted to show how important she was because Feyre made her seem so unimportant. I don't think it's as simple as Feyre opened the eyes to his court to see who he really was. I think they were aware of who he was. I think she incentivized a lot of shittier decisions for Tamlin to make. It wasn't...
Yeah.
It was all heavily manipulated.
Yeah, a lot of manipulating, but I just don't want to give her too much credit because Tamlin was...
15 chapters, Feyre was a fucking supervillain, and she was awesome. I'm just saying, overall, I can't get... First 15 chapters, I think Feyre was amazing. And, well, I agree, Tamlin definitely deserved some shitbirdiness. He's a shitbird. I don't like Tamlin as a character, but I think you feeling bad for him is also totally acceptable. I think... you should feel bad for Tamlin. Even if you don't like this person, you should never wish somebody loses everything that's ever happened to them.
And I think that's what it is, because I know he cares about his court, and clearly Feyre, which still surprised me at the very end, because if you had a partner that was dead and their life depended on me, I don't know what I would decide. I think I would make the right decision like Tamlin, but I would definitely struggle, just like Tamlin, in doing that.
Again, I think what I really appreciate about this book is we are just given one side of everything, right?
Yeah.
And I think the next book would be different, so we'll get some perspective, but we don't get any perspective from anybody outside the main circle.
It reminds me of this phrase, we judge others by their actions and ourselves by intentions. We can hear all of Feyre's thoughts and intentions and see her actions, and we only see other people's actions or her perspective of their intentions.
Right.
Yeah. And after Tamlin is hurt, more and more people are showing up. The sixth queen shows up, and she has an accent. I don't remember how it was described. All we get to hear is how the narrator describes her accent. And with her having red hair, her being a firebird, her having an accent.
It's a brogue.
I thought of Merida from, what's the movie?
Brave.
Brave is what I pictured, that's who the sixth queen is.
Yeah, she would have a brogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
A lot of attitude. Her and Nesta didn't get along. I just liked it because Nesta just looks her up and down. And Feyre says that the sixth queen, Vasa, does the same.
Yeah. She comes off like she could give a shit what's
Yeah.
going on with any of these other people.
She's just like, I'm only here because I was told by Lucian, you might be able to lift the curse. And Feyre's like, I don't know. We could try. We'll see what we can figure out. And Nesta was about to leave this meeting. Nesta didn't want to attend. She had her father's carbine in her hand. And Feyre says, but you're the guest of honor. Like, you are who we need here. And Nesta just was like, do you even think any of this is going to work? And that's when the meeting begins. And Feyre goes into her story about herself and her sisters and her perspective. And she like looks at Tamlin while she's telling the story.
Yeah, it's what everybody there really needed. Was more Archeron background. Killing me. Again, I do get that the book revolves around her. It's so funny that the world does in such an interesting way. And it's why I actually assume there's something more going on with them. Because for them to actually be this important, there's something extra.
Do you remember this little snippet of information that we got about how the death god brother...
The bone carver?
Not the bone carver. The bone carver and the weaver's brother, how he was detained, essentially, was by a clever fae. And they have a small lineage, very tiny. It was like something about with a human, and we immediately thought that is Feyre and her sisters.
Yeah.
Ancestry, I think is maybe the word for it.
Have you ever hear of the death god?
No, nothing came of that
You
one.
got any tattoos on that guy, huh?
No, they never even found him. Never even looked for him. I don't know where he's at.
Interesting. They should bring the Weaver back to life. And the Bone Carver, but definitely the Weaver.
Yeah, they're just kind of gone. Braxis is loose.
But as he wants to be. Pharaoh's got him on a leash, though. She got a dose tattoos.
Chapter 80, the meeting continues. No new plans. Court lines are redrawn. Why would they redraw court lines?
Maybe to make things more equitable for the human side.
Because they don't live in a... Do you think the next book we're about to read will have a new map?
Ooh, that would be cool. I think I would really love a breakdown of the old one and the new one. I wonder...
I don't think there's a new map because I've only seen one consistent map.
All I'm thinking is the other reason why you'd want the court lines to be redrawn, if nothing else, as a temporary measure, is almost all of the battling took place in the summer court, in the spring court.
In the human lands, yeah.
The humans aren't really a part of this. The humans are not a part of this meeting, other than maybe Nolan.
Grayson and Jurian and some of their...
Jurian's not human anymore, though.
No, he's not, but he's working with them. They showed up together.
But I mean, he's a vassal. He's not a king of the humans.
No, and it sounded like Vassa, the Sixth Queen, offered him a job, and he was going to take it.
He's gonna be the falconer for the queen. She's on my shoulder. She's not even a bird right now. Get her out of here. She keeps shitting all over the boat.
Oh, what great timing, because this is exactly what happens next after they come up with no new plans, court lines redrawn, no new wall, and then she talks to Jurian about what's his plan, and it sounds like it's to work with Vassa, and he says, too bad your sister beheaded the king. I bet he could have lifted Vassa's curse.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting little pop shot to take.
It was just ice cold. It was just a dick move. It's such a Jurian thing at this point, though.
Yeah, I really like him as a character. It's a shame they're going to kill him in 8 seconds whenever he becomes inconvenient.
No!
That's how it works.
So they go back to Valaris. Nesta is detached, doesn't visit Cassian in his healing bay or wherever he's at, and that stood out to them. Just very depressed for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I don't give her a pass, and I love Nesta, but Nesta is so self-absorbed, and she's always been that way. It's not a unique thing.
It makes sense, though. She killed someone. This is the first person she killed.
So did every other person who was there.
It was her first time, though.
Killing somebody?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Was it? All right, you could be right. I can't prove otherwise.
And think of how often she fought back with learning how to fight with Cassian. And Feyre would give her a hard time. And she's like, why? Why? Like, that is not something she identified as an individual that could do that or someone that fights or someone that does any of that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that that's hard. But again, just because what you're dealing with is hard doesn't mean you get to be a dickhead. I think Nesta being so, and it's so self-absorbed where look at the amount of people who lost everybody who they loved.
How is she being a dickhead?
Her being completely self-involved. Your sister stabbed somebody through the neck who has been nothing but the softest little butterfly in this entire story. You're not trying to comfort her. You're a pair guy, the guy who did nothing but try to protect you always, had his wings and shit destroyed and broken and crinkled, and nearly lost his life attempting to buy you enough time to get the hell out.
You were not this hard on Elaine when Elaine was turned into a fae, just like Feyre and Nesta.
Elaine wasn't the hard ass. That's the thing. Nesta was a hard ass all the way through his book. I'm tougher than you. I could do anything. And then now you're just too broken to be a part of society. I don't know. I'm not mad. I'm just saying I don't give Nesta a pass on this. I think
Nesta is going through some stuff and she needs people supporting her. She's been a huge support for Elaine this entire time. Now she needs somebody.
This is my other thing with this. Has she or has she enabled Elaine this whole time? Did Elaine improve with Nesta's care, or did Elaine improve with the people who made her go do things and expand her horizons? I would say Azriel has done more for Elaine than anybody. And I'm not suggesting that Nesta is bad. I'm just suggesting that it's a bummer. Like the way Nesta is currently behaving is a bummer.
Yeah, she is a bummer. She's a bummer in the room, just like Elaine was.
I think I'm more let down by this because I loved Nesta's character. She was my bitchy, ornery, powerful lady. And then for her to just be so easily mushy really bummed me out.
Ryan, she chopped somebody's...
and then stared and watched as the life left his eyes.
It's intense.
She wasn't forced to do it. She
saved everyone by doing it.
No, by beheading him, yes. By then lifting him by the hair and slowly watching the life leave his eyes, that was she needs to talk to somebody. Yes, I need to hear her having meetings with the faith therapists. That's what we need.
Because Feyre's first was kids. Not kids, teens. Older. Remember?
Under the mountain, she fucking stabbed him. Yeah,
and she had issues for months and months.
She killed a Midgard worm. She killed... I'm not suggesting that she didn't have months of issues. I'm suggesting Feyre killed those kids who were begging for their lives. Nesta finished beheading somebody who her sister had already stabbed through the throat, then chose to make it extra weird. Right?
Well, I think it was the only way to ensure. I don't know.
Watching the light leave
wild that I'm the one defending Nesta now.
I know. I'm so confused. Hold on. Do you think that she was required to lift him up by his hair to watch the life leave his eyes?
No. That, I think, had to do... I don't even know. I don't know what that... I think that's just trauma. That is setting her up for a background story. I don't know.
I took that in the moment as... Nesta was like, I fucking told you I would kill you. Because that's the promise she's been making.
Yeah, and she was going to make sure 100% when I set this head down, he's done.
Oh, I think it was more like, I want him to make sure he's looking into my eyes as his brain shuts off. Like, I took it as it was a very personal moment.
Yeah.
And I do think it's sad that Nesta's all fucked up. I'm just saying it's not satisfying.
I think it falls into the type of writing that we're getting in these books. Feyre went through this. Elaine went through this.
Elaine didn't go through this. That's my point. Elaine is the only one not going through this. Elaine is like, yeah, I stabbed a guy in the throat.
She was so cheery and happy, too. She's like, I'm going to go. She's like, I'm going to go grow a garden.
So, now you do see what it is I'm saying.
I do, but Elaine went through it after she was dumped in the cauldron.
Elaine mourned of a loss of her life as a human being.
And nearly died from starvation because of it.
I don't think she could. We don't hear about that being possible with Faye.
It freaked out the healer a little bit. Not like, she's like, she'll be fine, but be sure to keep feeding her.
Yeah, I mean, a swift breeze is going to come and break all.
Yeah.
She's been living off a broth for a while.
So I have the gang is happy except for Nesta.
Christ. I love there's such, you know what? No, go ahead.
The gang's all here.
I like it. It reminds me of It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gang gets giddy.
Each chapter could have the gang does this.
I'd be super on board.
She writes a letter to Tamlin wishing him to be happy. And at the end of chapter 80, Elaine is finally happy and is going to grow a garden. And that's kind of the end of the book, really, because then we have chapter 81, which is Rhysand's point of view. And I only have two things. He thinks about how things almost didn't work out. And then he has a bro moment with Azriel and Cassian when they show up. They're like, you going to keep staring at a wall or are you going to come hang out with us?
It gave a very end of an 80s movie.
Yeah. Like the two guys are like, I think Rhysand is staring out the window, kind of really in his head. And then your two friends in the background, like, come hang out with us. And they got their beers. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was very Ken-esque.
Yeah.
You're right, you are. And then he goes outside.
So that's Rhysand's point of view. Chapter 82 is back to Feyre's perspective. They're on a roof, a lot of flirting. He tells her, I heard you when I died. Like, this is what I did for you, essentially. And now you know what it was like for me when you did this. I guess. I don't know.
And you died also.
The only thing that kind of gets me is for Rhysand to compare it to what Feyre felt like. Rhysand and Feyre weren't a thing. There was nothing actually there between them.
He loved her. It was one-sided. Again,
yes.
Hold on. He
saw her like 4 times.
I think you're ignoring the instinctive attraction.
Yeah, I am.
And I think it's okay for you to ignore that. But then you're giving Nesta a pass on her bullshit?
Yeah, I'm giving Nesta a pass. And I think Feyre's love for Rhysand at this point in the book has to be deeper than what he had for her when she died under the mountain, because he only knew her and all he had was a mating bond. But I'm probably underestimating quite a bit of the mating bond with men.
Probably dead right. I'm just trying to be antagonistic at this point. I think for Rhysand to compare, as you started with Feyre, what he was feeling, I think you're 1,000% right. I think Feyre had a much more desperate feeling of loss as to who he was. I think what Rhysand felt was a desperate loss of what might have been. And I think that those are different feelings that you shouldn't necessarily equate, but it's probably the closest she would ever get to somebody being able to equate those feelings.
Yeah. And I think that also is similar to Cassian when he knew it was his time and he was telling Nesta goodbye. It was a loss of what could have been between them.
I think it's even what Cassian felt when she went into the Cauldron. When she went into the Cauldron, Cassian was breaking down too. And I think Cassian felt what Rhysand felt.
Yeah.
And then I think Cassian at the end, the acceptance of his death ostensibly was very much that, like, I could have spent this time so much better. And now I think the way Nesta is reacting, while is understandable, isn't correct. Just because I can grasp why doesn't mean it's the way she should behave.
But at this point, Cassie and Nesta aren't a thing.
Oh, I'm not even suggesting that just between her and Cassian it's a problem. It's a problem with her sister. It's a problem with her other sister. It's a problem with Amren. Anybody with whom she values a relationship with.
Yeah, she's not putting effort into anyone. She's just a shell.
She's involved in herself.
Yeah, she is.
And she can waller in self-pity, and that's totally fine. It's not that it's not understandable. It's that it's so ridiculous. Like, the best thing that could happen is like some sort of fey crash and a couple of these people die, and then Nesta's forced to confront the fact that she chose to be a dickhead instead of being involved and just putting in the effort.
Maybe Nesta is so well written because I relate to that.
I think, and I'm not suggesting that Nesta isn't well written. What I would say is these characters, the relationships are written from the perspective of, don't worry, somebody else will put in the work. Because that's what's happened in every one of the relationships. The perspective we've seen is none of these people are putting in the work to having a good relationship. It just kind of happens to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have an issue with the relationships in these books, is it is work to have a good relationship. It's not bad, but it's not easy. It doesn't just happen. It's effort.
And I think that kind of falls into romance novels, though, that they remove a lot of that work out of them.
And what a bummer. Because it's not even so much that like, oh, we've removed the work. Sometimes it's like, see, it actually isn't any work. You're not even left to assume that somebody else is doing it. Sometimes you're just left to the idea of there was no work needing to be done. It's effortless. It's like, man, what a wild world. I think that's the part where I'm like, Jesus Christ, Prithian is crazy. Like, this makes no sense.
Chapter 82 ends with she needs to get Bryaxis, and Rhysand is going to go with her. And I thought it was cute of like...
You're going to get the dog.
Yeah, like, just a cute movie ending of we still have things to do. Let's do it together. And then they fly around.
Do you think Bryaxis made it all the way to Hybern?
I don't know where Bryaxis is. I think Bryaxis is probably in the Night Court because he wants to see the stars and moon and is just enjoying.
Oh, it'd be cool if they just give him the house up on top of the hill. They're like, here you go, you non-corporeal, scary-faced dude. It's all a skylight.
Here is your skylight.
Yeah, I think that would be so neat. So, follow-up questions before we start the next book. Oh, actually, I lied. I've got one more bone to pick, and then I'm done picking.
You promise? Okay, what is it?
No deaths in this book will have any meaning to me from this point out.
Oh.
Onward, I should say.
Yeah, because they don't actually kill off close characters.
Yeah, like I'm happy that everybody's back, but it did remove the stakes from the book. We've seen 3 of our main characters die, and all 3 of them came back immediately.
One of the things in The Witcher, the game, is you make decisions. And overall, in any game, you make decisions and the developer set it up to where you'll always come to this boss. You'll always get to this. You'll always get to this. You're still going to have your main storyline, no matter your decisions. There is one decision in this game that completely alters what direction your story is going to go. Either you save this woman and it has all these positive outcomes, but if you save her, these foster children die, which is sad, and there's consequences to this, right? The children die. But if you save the children, you don't get all of the positive things that came from this one woman and what she could do. And that was a high stakes decision and what you make and what comes of the game. And I thought it didn't matter what decision you made.
You just wanted to murder some kids.
I thought it was funny. And I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't matter where the game still continues. No, the game continues on and reminds you of the decision that you made and that you get a different game experience than everybody else that made the other choice. And so I restarted the game and I made the other choice and continued that way. But there isn't that type of stakes in this game or in this book where Feyre's decision does have consequences.
Yeah, I think, and it goes for all the characters. There is no real consequence to anything. Using Feyre as an example, like the amount of times where she's done shit where she just hasn't informed the group or Rhys, where Rhys hasn't just been like, actually, I don't trust you anymore. That would have been amazing. And then she would have had to have rebuilt that trust.
They kind of gave it to us with Tamlin, but they did it was a good thing that we made decisions with Feyre. I didn't always agree with the decisions Feyre made, but it made sense that she wanted to leave Tamlin overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was probably the closest we got of seeing her decisions and its consequences and how it affects others.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't see, if we even look at Tamlin's decision-making, Tamlin's shitty decision-making in the first 15 chapters of this book, destroy his court, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the end, he gets them all gathered again. There wasn't a real consequence to it. Ianthe's the only one that suffered any real consequences because she followed Feyre into the Weaver's house. Outside of that, she would have had no consequences. Because the thing Feyre did, where she used her Daemati shit to fuck with her head, was reversed by the king. Like, I just don't see permanence in any of the consequence to action in this book, really, especially for our main characters. Amren now not having superpowers, I guess, is something, but Amren didn't sacrifice her life. She sacrificed her power.
There was another point in the game, The Witcher, where you kill off a love interest. Do you remember that? I don't remember her name. And she is literally gone.
The lady.
Yeah, and she's literally gone for the entire game because of your choices. And you just continue on of just like, oh, and then you're reminded of all the times that you probably would have needed her.
Yeah.
I didn't know you actually could take her out because I was like, she's a main character. I like when we played it.
Marigold or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could actually kill her because you get in a fight with her. I didn't know you actually could take her out because I was just like, oh, let's have some. They're not gonna let me do that.
In that game, it's so fun to me.
Yeah, because I was just like, they're not gonna let you do that. No different than listening to this book. They're not gonna take out more. They're not gonna do that. But if they did,
imagine.
I think you would lose a lot of readers if you
would think,
did.
but look at Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones kind of overdid it, where they just killed everybody off eventually. But as like the first time
that's a good example
character gets killed off, you're like, oh shit. It's not just plot armor over every character every time. So while I really enjoyed this book, I will admit what I see in the future is a lack of stakes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Whenever it's going to be like, oh, is somebody going to die? They're not going to die. Nobody dies.
I always enjoyed the high stakes in the TV show The Boys, but now we're on season 4 and it shows kind of the same thing, that it's not going to take out main characters like you would think it like it implies it would do.
Yeah, it more so changes somebody who you think would have been a main character into a minor character.
Yeah.
Then kills them off. But yeah, that was the only thing about this where I was like, at the end, the only bit of disappointment I really had was just like, wow.
So you think that they should have brought Rhysand back and left Amren as a way to keep the stakes high?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe left them both. Maybe Rhysand is now a memory. She's pregnant. Blah, blah, blah. They have this child. She's teaching the child things and imparting wisdom from his dead father.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I think it would have made for an interesting book. It wouldn't have been as fuzzy, but...
I think that if Rhysand did die in chapter 79, I think, if he really did die, I don't think I could pick up the next book.
Imagine you had a prequel section to it, where it's Rhysand going to the Illyrian camp and first meeting Asriel and Cassian, and then him interacting with his mom and his sister, and you have all of this backstory, and then it comes into where he's under the mountain and how he's dealing with Amarantha when he first gets this little ping that there's a human girl somewhere out there that he's in love with. He happens to meet her for the first time. You get all of this perspective.
Yeah, if that was the next book, was more Rhysand than if they killed him off.
Well, I don't think that's the entire book, right? I think after he's dead, you go through a big part of this, and then it's Feyre teaching their son all of these things, blah, 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 blah. And then it's kind of moments of wisdom. It's the Lion King, basically.
Yeah, if they did kill him off, and I knew that the next book would let me hear more about him because I'm so devastated, that would be the only thing that would make me pick up that next book. And once I'm into the book and I've heard all of this, and then they're just like, oh, now back to Feyre's side, and we're back to the present, that better be the end of the series then, because
by then now I would have become invested in now their child. And now maybe there's a bit of he's got other influences other than just his mom. Or his mom witnessing his father die that way has changed her in some meaningful way. Like, I think this could have been more for me, not more for everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I do see where that would make a great story also, if it was done that way as you described. Because, yeah, if he was dead, I don't even think I could have finished the next chapters. The only reason I continued was for the hope of he survives, obviously. Otherwise, if he didn't, I probably couldn't have even finished the book.
I just think that you then, from that point afterward, the stakes when things did go wrong would seem so, you would feel weight.
Yeah.
That now there's a certain weightlessness to this book.
Yeah, because I don't feel like the author is going to kill anyone off that I'm not okay with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't feel like there's gravity in this world. I really enjoyed the book.
Well, now we are here for the drama. I'm hoping in this next book we hear more about Nesta and how she's continuing forward and works through her trauma. Hear more about Elaine and her love life is what I'm interested in. I want to know who she's choosing, if she even chooses.
She doesn't have a choice. Asriel is not there for that. I stand by it.
Yeah.
Asriel is there for more.
Well,
he's a good friend to her, and she's going to hit on him, and he's going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I love you as a friend.
Oh, and now that we do know that Asriel did survive because you planted that in my head that he might not live.
Yeah, well, I was wrong on that one.
I hope that we hear more of her life with Asriel. Does she come out to him? Does she work through her stuff and is more open and finds a partner that she would proudly bring to dinner type of thing?
They're going to call it the rug doctor.
Just a deadpan face staring at you.
I know, I can see it. Come on. It'd be a little funny if she comes out to everybody as like hey, just want everybody to know, I'm a full-on the dollar bean. And everybody's like, yeah, we know.
We have all known. It's about time. We've actually been hanging out with your partner without you because...
Nesta's like, you said it was your first time. Like, she's all insulted.
Oh, her and Nesta are together.
Why not? Put the two selfish people together. No, that's easy. No, I really enjoyed the book. So give the entire series your rating so far on a 1 to 10 as a whole.
As a whole?
Mm-hmm. The story of a court.
Still very good. I get why it's a popular story.
Give it to me.
I don't know what I would rate it at.
Nobody's holding you to anything.
I put this book really high, like the 9 to 10. My emotional feeling now after this book is higher than it was for Mist and Fury, and definitely higher than Thorns and Roses. Up there in the emotional and manipulation, maybe, as Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. But it was so dry at parts, and it's long, which is why I want to put it at a 9. I wish it could have been faster. But maybe
still very good.
But maybe I feel this emotion because it was long and it took me on this journey. So I'm probably judging it unfairly also. I don't know.
9 is still exceptional.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy with the book, and I can't be that type of person that gives things 5s or 6s, because if it's a 5 or 6, I just didn't like it. To me, it's like
5 is negative to you.
Yeah, it's like a yes or no. It's how I kind of feel. Yes, no, medium, almost. Like
5 didn't make it to medium? 5 was negative to you. What is medium?
7.
Okay.
Because I finished it. I'll finish something that I'm putting in the 7. I think that if something's feeling like a 5 or 6 or lower, I'm not going to finish it because I'm so bored or I don't like it.
So for something to be like, does 3 exist for you, or does it go from 5 to 1?
3 sounds like it's a textbook to me.
What's a 1?
I don't know.
Biblioteca.
Because, yeah, even with textbooks, I enjoyed my classes and I enjoy learning, but I'm putting this across all book types, maybe. I don't think that I can be
Any assembly of words.
Yeah, I don't think I can rate books, honestly. I don't think I can be objective because I am thinking of my emotions with it. I just either liked it or I didn't. And is it medium? Is it good? Is it great?
I think the best thing about this is it is not objective.
Yeah.
It is subjective.
Yeah.
So you can rate a book however you want.
Yeah, but then I think about, well, what about the next book? Because each book rating is dependent on the previous books that I have read. Whether I like it or not. I can't give an independent rating look at it because I don't have that much experience in this genre.
AKA the independent variable.
Yes.
I
But
think it's okay.
I keep bringing up Fourth Wing and Iron Flame because those are the most recent books that I have read before this series that's in this genre of fantasy and romance. And I don't know.
They're the only other books I've read in this genre. So
And
if
I
I
think
were just basing it off of the genre alone, it would be different. But I would say just as your total enjoyment, 10 being, oh my, you cannot believe the joy this book gave you. Like, it is, you wish you could reread it right now.
well, see, that's where I don't feel like rereading any of these books, though.
That's fine.
So that's where I
don't
feel
think-
kind of guilty rating them higher because it's like I want to reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, though.
Yeah, they're 10s though for you.
They are.
That's the difference in your 9 and 10.
Clearly.
That's
I
fine.
was very happy, emotionally manipulated, and felt all kinds of emotions. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit is a movie that made me feel all kinds of emotions, and I would watch that again and again.
Yes.
I do see that I relate these books to games often.
Specifically Zelda and The Witcher.
Yeah.
Fantasy games.
They're fantasy and they have a story going on with them, and a story that's always going to end the same.
Well,
And
The Witcher doesn't.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, though, as far as there's a storyline and an adventure and there's fighting and there's...
The Witcher I saw is a big parallel to this book in
Yeah.
general.
Because I think if you're writing a book or making a game, you have a storyline and things that are...
Triss.
What?
Triss is her name. The one
Yeah.
you can kill.
Yeah, you can kill off Triss.
Yeah. Triss Marigold.
That shouldn't be allowed
Okay.
in the game.
Sorry. It entered my mind. It was bugging me this entire time.
I think that was another time that I started the game over because then I didn't want to kill her off.
Yeah. Just go back to save files. Start over.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, why did you allow me to do that?
I do love that you enjoyed that game so much. That game was probably a 9 out of 10 for you.
A 10 out of 10. I love that
But
game.
we never finished it.
Well,
We started over 3 times.
it's... Yeah, because I didn't like the decisions I was making.
Yeah. And it's hard. With the kids and stuff, there is not enough time for us to have a game like that we play now.
But yeah, I'm curious to see. I think as we continue on, if I keep giving things 9, like it just feels like as I read the next book, it'll shift all of the ratings that I give the previous books. Like as you keep adding more, that has to change their ratings because now you have a new thing to compare it to. Because I'm always comparing. I can't just think of the book as a whole of like, well, this is the writing. Well, this is this. And it's just like, how do I feel about this book in comparison to the other books?
So, may I offer you something? Completely unsolicited, so it's criticism. Don't.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
don't have to.
point to comparing the books. They exist independently of each other. Your experience in this book exists independently of your experience with the other book. And if this shapes the way you view the following book, that's okay. It's all subjective. It's not hard data. You're good.
But that's all I had. Did you have any notes?
Mm-mm. So we're going to start the next book today. 7 chapters. Call it a day.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.